26-year-old woman living alone in a small apartment near my college. I work late nights at a bar downtown, so I usually get home around 2 or 3 a.m. I've always felt safe here. It's a quiet building, and most of my neighbors are students or elderly people. But something happened last month that I can't explain. And honestly, I'm not sure I'll ever feel safe again. It started with a noise. One night, after a long shift, I came home around 2:30 a.m. I was exhausted, took a quick shower, and collapsed into bed. As I was dozing off, I heard a soft creak. It wasn't loud, just a subtle wooden groan, like someone putting weight on the floor. I dismissed it as the old building settling. But then I heard it again, and again. I sat up, heart racing. The sound seemed to be coming from under my bed. Now, I know how cliché this sounds. The monster under the bed, that's childhood stuff. But I live alone, and I know every sound my apartment makes. I told myself it was nothing, that maybe my cat, but I don't have a cat. I leaned over and looked underneath. There was a man, a real man, curled up, facing away from me, breathing slowly like he was asleep. I froze. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stared. Then like a switch flipped, I bolted, grabbed my phone, ran out the door, and called the police from the hallway. They came fast. I was shaking, crying, trying to explain to the dispatcher what I saw. When the officers arrived, they went in with their guns drawn. A few minutes later, one came out and told me the room was empty. Empty. No man under the bed. Nothing disturbed. No signs of forced entry. I felt like I was losing my mind. I knew what I saw. They checked the windows, all locked. Door? Locked too. They treated me kindly, but clearly thought I imagined it. I didn't. I slept at a friend's house for the next few days. When I finally worked up the nerve to return, I did something I've never done before. I looked under the bed before going to sleep, and there was a note, a small piece of paper neatly folded. Written in red ink, it said, "You look too soon." I've never been good with silence, which is probably why I always sleep with the TV on. Just some background noise to drown out the thoughts, you know? I live in a small studio apartment, so my bed is just a few feet from the TV. Most nights, I put it on some random show and let it play while I drift off. A few weeks ago, something changed. That night, I was flipping through channels when the screen froze for a second on channel 3, just static. But it wasn't normal static. It had this faint humming sound beneath it, almost musical. I don't know why, but I stared at it for a good 20 seconds, mesmerized, before I shook myself out of it and changed the channel. I fell asleep. At exactly 3:33 a.m., I woke up to the TV blaring. My heart was racing, and I felt like someone had just screamed in my ear. But it was just the TV, somehow back on channel 3, still showing that same static, still with that faint hum. I couldn't explain how it switched back on its own. The remote was on my nightstand, untouched. Then I saw it. In the static, just for a second, I swear I saw a face. It wasn't a clear image, more like an outline, a shadow moving toward the screen. I turned the TV off immediately and sat in silence, heart pounding. Eventually, I convinced myself I imagined it. The next night, I unplugged the TV before bed. At 3:33 a.m., the humming started again. But the TV was off, still unplugged. The hum came from inside the apartment. I stood frozen in bed, listening as the sound slowly grew louder, like it was coming from the walls, or maybe beneath the floor. Then, I heard whispers, dozens of voices, all speaking at once in tones too low to understand. I felt something brush against my foot under the blanket. When I ripped the covers away, nothing was there. I stayed at a friend's for a few days, but I had to come back eventually. When I did, I threw out the TV. But the hum still comes. Only at 3:33 a.m. Only when I'm alone. Last night, I recorded the sound on my phone. When I played it back today, I heard something in the background that chilled me to my bones. A voice. Clear, sharp, and right next to the mic. It whispered, "Why did you stop watching?" I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind where people smile, wave, and keep their lawns trimmed like it's a competition. Nothing bad ever really happens here. Or at least it didn't, until the guy across the street changed. His name is Mr. Halpern. Retired mid-60s, a bit awkward but polite. He's lived there for as long as I can remember. The kind of guy who'd water his plants at exactly 7 a.m. and say things like "morning, champ," even if it was noon. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed something weird. I was leaving for work when I saw him just standing at his window, perfectly still, staring straight out. At first, I thought he was waiting for someone, but when I came home hours later, he was still there. Same position, same stare. I mentioned it to my girlfriend. We laughed it off. Old people get weird sometimes, right? But then it kept happening. Every single day. Same window, same stare, no blinking. It started freaking me out, so I tried waving at him. No response. I thought maybe he had a medical condition. Maybe he'd passed away standing up. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but he literally didn't move. One night, around 3 a.m., I got up to get water and glanced outside. He was there, still staring. But this time, his head was tilted slightly, as if he had noticed I'd been watching him too. I quickly turned off the light and stepped away from the window. The next morning, I called the police for a wellness check. They showed up, knocked, and eventually went inside. I watched from across the street. After about 15 minutes, they left, shaking their heads. No signs of distress, one of the officers told me. He said he's fine. That night, I got a knock on my door. It was Mr. Halpern. His face was wrong. His skin was stretched too tight, his eyes wide. He didn't blink once during the entire 45-second conversation. "Why did you send the police?" he asked, voice flat. "I was just worried. You seemed off." He didn't answer, just stared at me. Right before he turned to leave, he smiled. His lips parted, too wide, like he didn't know how human expressions worked anymore. "You should stop watching me," he said, "or I'll have to start watching you." He's back at his window now, and I swear he's closer to the glass than before. Just standing there, unblinking, waiting.